The carriage wheels creaked as they climbed the mountain path toward Nightshade Manor. Mia pressed her face to the rain-streaked window, watching the castle emerge from the mist like something from a nightmare, all dark stone and twisted spires, surrounded by dead gardens and an iron gate that looked designed to keep people in rather than out. This was where brides came to die. Everyone knew the stories. Duke Zane Nightshade, the vampire lord who ruled these mountains, took a new bride every year. Beautiful girls, offered up by desperate villages hoping to appease his bloodlust. The brides entered the manor in wedding white and were never seen again. Mia should have been terrified. Instead, her heart raced with anticipation. Because unlike the other brides, Mia wasn't going to her death. She was going home. Hello, my beautiful dreamers, and welcome to Silver Moon Chronicles. Tonight's story is special, a gothic romance perfect for those late-night hours when you want to escape into a world of dark castles, forbidden love, and mysteries wrapped in moonlight. This is a story about a love so powerful it transcends memory itself. So get comfortable, maybe light a candle, and let me take you into the world of the Bloodthirsty Duke and the bride who was never afraid. Drop a comment if you're listening before bed, and subscribe so you never miss these midnight tales. Now, let me tell you about Mia, and the vampire who saved her life, then forgot her completely. Part 1. 5 years ago, Mia had been dying. A fever had swept through her village, killing half the children before anyone understood what was happening. Mia had been 13, burning up with sickness, her parents already dead. The village healer had given up, left her in the abandoned cottage to pass quietly. That's when he'd appeared. A stranger in dark clothes, with eyes like midnight and a presence that made the shadows bow. He'd knelt beside her bed, cool hand on her burning forehead, and spoken words in a language she didn't know. The fever had broken instantly. The sickness vanished like it had never existed. "Who are you?" Mia had whispered, seeing him clearly for the first time. Beautiful, in the way dangerous things were beautiful. Ancient despite looking barely 30. "Someone who doesn't let children die if he can help it," he'd replied, voice soft as velvet. "Sleep now. You're safe. Will I see you again?" He'd smiled, sad, wistful. "No. By morning, you won't remember I was here." No one ever does. But Mia had remembered. Even after he'd vanished into the night, even after the village convinced itself she'd simply recovered naturally, Mia remembered. The stranger with sad eyes who'd saved her. The man she'd spent 5 years searching for in every story, every legend, every whispered tale of the supernatural. Until she'd heard about Duke Nightshade. The vampire who took brides. The monster who lived in darkness. And she'd recognized him from the descriptions. The same dark hair. The same otherworldly beauty. The same sadness that clung to him like a shadow. So when her village drew lots to choose the Duke's next bride, Mia had volunteered. Had insisted, despite everyone's protests. Had walked willingly into the carriage that would take her to Nightshade Manor. Because she was going to find the man who'd saved her. And she was going to save him right back. The carriage stopped at the manor's entrance. The driver, an elderly man with knowing eyes, opened the door. "Last chance to run, girl," he said quietly. "I'll take you back, no questions asked." "I'm not running." Mia stepped out, her simple white dress immediately soaked by the rain. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." The driver sighed. "They all say that." "Good luck, miss. You'll need it." He left before Mia could respond, the carriage disappearing into the mist. The manor doors opened without her knocking. A woman stood in the entrance, older, maybe 50, with silver-streaked hair and a face that had seen too much. "I'm Nora, the head maid," she said, her voice neither warm nor cold. "You're the new bride." "Mia," she introduced herself. "From Ashwood Village." "I know where you're from." Nora studied her with sharp gray eyes. "You're younger than the usual offerings." 18? "Just turned." Mia stepped inside, out of the rain. The entrance hall was grand, sweeping staircases, crystal chandeliers, portraits of beautiful people in old-fashioned clothes. "When do I meet the Duke?" "Eager, are we?" Nora's lips twitched. Most brides spend their first day crying or trying to escape. "I'm not most brides." "Clearly." Nora turned, gesturing for Mia to follow. "The Duke will receive you at dinner. 8 o'clock. Until then, I'll show you to your chambers." They climbed the grand staircase, walked through hallways lined with more portraits, more evidence of wealth and age and something indefinably sad. The manor was beautiful but empty. Silent except for their footsteps. "How many servants work here?" Mia asked, Just me and the groundskeeper, Ethan. The Duke prefers privacy. Nora stopped at a door, pushing it open. These are your rooms. Everything you need should be provided. Dinner dress is in the wardrobe. Don't be late, the Duke values punctuality. Nora, Mia caught her arm as she turned to leave. The other brides. What really happened to them? Nora's expression closed off. They're gone. That's all you need to know. Did he kill them? Does it matter? You're here now, and you'll share their fate soon enough. Nora pulled free. Enjoy your last hours of innocence, girl. The Duke shows no mercy to those who displease him. She left, the door closing with an ominous finality. Mia explored her chambers, a bedroom larger than her entire village cottage, a bathroom with marble and gold, a wardrobe filled with dresses more expensive than anything she'd ever seen. Everything luxurious. Everything designed for a bride who wouldn't need it long. But Mia wasn't afraid. She chose a bath, letting hot water wash away the travel grime and village dust. She was really here. In his home. After 5 years of searching, she'd found him. Now she just had to make him remember. At 8 o'clock precisely, Mia descended to the dining hall wearing the dress Nora had indicated, deep burgundy velvet that made her pale skin glow and her dark hair shine. She'd left it loose, remembering how he'd touched it that night 5 years ago, had called it beautiful as midnight. The dining hall was intimate despite its size, a single table set for two, lit by hundreds of candles. And at the head of the table stood the Duke. He was exactly as Mia remembered, and completely different. Same dark hair falling past his collar, same aristocratic features, same lean, powerful build. But the warmth she'd seen 5 years ago was gone. His eyes, still that impossible midnight color, were cold, assessing, predatory. You must be my bride, he said, his voice the same velvet she remembered but edged with ice. Mia, yes? Yes, your grace. She curtsied, playing the role expected of her. Zane, he corrected. If you're to be my bride, we should use given names. Please, sit. He held out a chair for her, chivalrous, gentle, the gesture at odds with his reputation. Mia sat, hyper-aware of his closeness, of his cool fingers brushing her shoulders as he pushed in her chair. You're not what I expected, Zane said, taking his own seat. Most brides arrive in tears. You seem calm. Should I be crying? Mia met his eyes directly. Would that please you more? Something flickered in his expression. Surprise? Interest? No. Tears bore me. I prefer women with spine. A servant appeared, Nora, wearing formal livery, and began serving dinner. Roasted meats, fresh bread, vegetables that smelled divine. Mia realized she was starving. Eat, Zane said, noting her hesitation. I don't poison my brides. That would be far too mundane. How do you kill them then? Mia asked, cutting into her meat. Since everyone assumes they're dead. Boldly asked. Zane sipped from a goblet, wine so dark it looked like blood. What makes you think they're dead? They never return to their villages. They're never seen again. Mia took a bite, the food exquisite. Either you're keeping them prisoner, or they're dead. Which is it? What if I told you there was a third option? I'd say you're avoiding the question. Zane laughed, the sound genuine, startled out of him. You're different. The others were all passive terror or aggressive defiance. You're curious. I've been told I'm too curious for my own good. Mia sipped her own wine, excellent, probably expensive beyond measure. But if I'm going to die, I'd like to understand why first. A reasonable request. Zane studied her across the candlelight. Tell me, Mia from Ashwood Village. Why did you volunteer to be my bride? The question caught her off guard. What makes you think I volunteered? Nora told me. She tells me everything. His eyes never left her face. So I'll ask again, why volunteer to come to the home of a bloodthirsty vampire everyone assumes will kill you? This was it. The moment Mia could reveal everything, could tell him about their past meeting. But something held her back. The coldness in his eyes. The way he spoke of his brides like they were curiosities rather than people. This wasn't the man who'd saved her life. This was someone harder. More dangerous. If she told him the truth now, he'd dismiss her as delusional or manipulative. She needed him to feel something first. To see her as more than just another bride. Because I had nothing to lose, Mia said finally. My parents are dead. My village has nothing for me. When the lots were drawn, I saw an opportunity: live in luxury for however long I have left, or stay in poverty forever. The choice seemed obvious. It wasn't entirely a lie. Her parents were dead. And she did have nothing left in Ashwood. She just left out the part where she'd spent 5 years obsessed with finding him. Zane's expression shifted, something almost like disappointment. So you came for comfort. For luxury. Not because of any romantic notions about taming the beast. I didn't say that. Mia smiled. I just said I had nothing to lose. That doesn't mean I can't hope for something to gain. Such as? Understanding. Mia leaned forward slightly. Everyone says you're a monster. That you kill your brides in horrible ways. But you've shown me nothing but courtesy. Shared a lovely dinner, asked about my motivations. That doesn't sound monstrous. You've been here 3 hours, Zane said dryly. Give it time. Will you kill me? Eventually? The question hung in the air between them. Honestly? Zane set down his goblet. I don't know. I've never wanted to kill any of my brides. And yet they all end up gone. Make of that what you will. That sounds like you don't remember, Mia observed. Like something happens that you're not aware of. Zane's eyes sharpened. You're dangerously perceptive. Is that why the others disappeared? Because they noticed things you didn't want them to notice? Careful, my dear. His voice dropped to something darker. Curiosity may not kill brides as quickly as fear, but it's equally dangerous. Then I'll take my chances. Mia refused to back down. You intrigue me, Your Grace. And I've never been good at leaving mysteries unsolved. Then we're well matched. Zane stood, moving around the table to stand beside her chair. Because you intrigue me as well, Mia from Ashwood Village. And I haven't been intrigued in a very long time. He extended his hand. Would you like a tour of your new home? Since you'll be staying for the foreseeable future. Mia placed her hand in his. His skin was cool but not cold, his grip gentle. The touch sent electricity through her, recognition, attraction, memory all tangled together. For just a second, Zane's eyes widened. Like he'd felt it too. Then the moment passed, and he led her from the dining hall into the shadowed corridors of Nightshade Manor. As they walked, Mia noticed things. The way he avoided certain portraits. The rooms he didn't enter. The sadness that clung to him like cologne when he thought she wasn't watching. This was the man who'd saved her. She was sure of it. She just had to figure out what had happened to turn him into the cold Duke everyone feared. And then she had to bring back the warmth she'd seen 5 years ago. However long that took. However dangerous it became. She'd found him. And she wasn't letting go. Part 2. Mia's first week at Nightshade Manor passed in a strange dream. During the days, she explored the vast estate, libraries filled with ancient books, conservatories with dying plants, ballrooms thick with dust. The manor was beautiful but neglected, like Zane had stopped caring about it years ago. During the evenings, she dined with the Duke. These dinners became Mia's favorite time. Zane was fascinating when he allowed himself to be witty, well-read, full of stories from centuries of existence. He spoke of places Mia had only read about, of historical events he'd witnessed firsthand. But he never spoke of anything personal. Never mentioned family, or love, or why he chose to live in isolation. And he never, ever touched her beyond the formal hand on her chair, the polite assistance when she navigated stairs in the elaborate gowns he kept providing. You're different from what I expected, Mia said on the 7th night, over wine and dessert. You've said that before. Zane swirled his goblet, always that dark wine that might or might not be blood. How am I different? Gentler. More, human. She chose her words carefully. The stories paint you as a monster. But you've been nothing but courteous. The weak is young. But his smile took the edge off the words. Perhaps I'm simply biding my time. Or perhaps the stories are wrong. Are they? Zane leaned back, studying her. Tell me, Mia. In this week, have you tried to escape? No. Have you searched for weapons to use against me? No. Have you attempted to discover what happened to my previous brides? Mia hesitated. She had asked Nora several times, though the maid refused to answer. I've been curious. But not afraid. Zane's eyes gleamed in the candlelight. Why not? Any rational person would be terrified. Maybe I'm not rational. Or maybe you know something you're not telling me. He set down his goblet. You look at me sometimes like you're seeing someone else. Like you know me. But we've never met before that carriage arrived. Mia's heart raced. He'd noticed. Of course he'd noticed. He was centuries old, observant, intelligent. Haven't we? She asked softly. Zane went very still. What do you mean? What if I told you we'd met before? 5 years ago, in Ashwood Village. What if I told you that you saved my life, then vanished before I could thank you? For a long moment, Zane just stared at her. Then he laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. A creative lie, he said. I'll give you credit for originality. Most brides try to appeal to my better nature through flattery or seduction. You've chosen mystery. It's not a lie. It is. Zane's voice hardened. I haven't been to Ashwood in a decade. And I certainly don't save lives, I end them. That's what vampires do. Not you. Mia stood, moving around the table to face him. You cured my fever. Spoke words in an ancient language. Told me I wouldn't remember by morning. But I did remember. I've been searching for you ever since. Stop. Zane rose as well, towering over her. Whatever game you're playing. It's not a game. Mia grabbed his hand, pressing it to her cheek the way he'd done 5 years ago when checking her fever. Feel it. Remember. You were there. You saved me. You. Zane jerked his hand away like she'd burned him. No. I don't save people. I don't remember kindnesses because I don't perform them. You're confusing me with someone else, or you're lying to manipulate me. Why would I lie about this? To make me care about you. To make me hesitate before he stopped, jaw clenching. Before whatever happens to my brides happens to you. What does happen to them? Mia pressed. You said you don't remember. What if someone's been making you forget? What if? Enough. Power rolled off Zane, making the candles flicker. You know nothing about me or my life. You're a village girl who volunteered to be my bride because you had nothing better to do. Don't pretend there's more to it than that. He turned to leave, but Mia caught his arm. Then why do you look so sad? She asked quietly. Every time you think I'm not watching, there's this grief in your eyes. Like you've lost something precious and can't remember what it was. Zane's expression cracked, just for a second, vulnerability showing through. That's none of your concern. Isn't it? I'm your bride. Your companion for however long this lasts. Don't I deserve to know what I'm walking into? You deserve to survive. Zane pulled free, but gently. Which means you should stop asking questions that might get you killed. By you? By the curse that hangs over this manor. He moved to the window, staring out at the dark gardens. I wasn't always like this, Mia. Cold. Isolated. But I am now, and there's no changing it. What if I don't want to change it? Mia moved to stand beside him. What if I just want to understand it? Why? What do you gain? Maybe just the satisfaction of solving the mystery. She smiled slightly. Or maybe I'm hoping to find traces of the man who saved me. The one who looked at a dying child and chose compassion over convenience. Zane was quiet for a long time. Outside, rain began to fall, pattering against the windows. If that man existed, he finally said, he's gone now. And you'd be wise to stop looking for him. Too late. Mia touched his hand, just her fingers against his, tentative connection. I've already seen hints of him. In the way you make sure I'm comfortable. In the books you leave in my room that match my interests. In the way you listen when I talk instead of just tolerating me. Basic courtesy. Isn't basic for a monster. Mia laced their fingers together. Let me stay, Zane. Let me be your companion, your friend if not your lover. Let me see if I can help you remember what you've forgotten. And if what I've forgotten is better left forgotten, then at least you'll know the truth. Zane looked down at their joined hands, his expression complex. You're either very brave or very foolish. Can't I be both? Despite himself, he smiled. Yes. I suppose you can. He didn't pull his hand away. They stood like that as the rain fell, connected by touch and possibility. Tell me something true, Zane said suddenly. Not about our supposed past meeting. Just something real about you. Mia thought about it. I used to dream about finding you. After you saved me, I'd have these dreams where we'd meet again, and you'd remember me, and everything would make sense. Childish, I know. Not childish. Hopeful. His thumb traced her knuckles. I don't remember hope. Don't remember wanting anything beyond the next night's passing. Maybe I can teach you. Maybe you can. Zane finally looked at her, really looked, and Mia saw the sadness he usually hid. But Mia, if you stay, if you keep searching for answers, there's a very good chance you'll end up like the others. Gone. Forgotten. Lost to whatever darkness takes my brides. Then we'll just have to break that pattern, Mia said. Together. You're dangerously optimistic. And you're dangerously pessimistic. We balance each other. Zane's laugh was soft, almost fond. How did you become so brave? I had a good teacher. 5 years ago, someone showed me that even in the darkest moments, there's always a chance for salvation. Mia squeezed his hand. I'm just paying that forward. By refusing to fear me. By choosing to see you. Mia met his eyes. The real you. Not the monster everyone expects. For a moment, Zane looked like he might say something profound. Like he might admit something important. Then the moment passed. He released her hand, stepping back. You should rest, he said. Tomorrow, if you're interested, I could show you the library properly. There are some texts about the manor's history you might find illuminating. I'd like that. Good. He moved toward the door, then paused. Mia. For what it's worth, even if your memory of our meeting is real, even if I did save you once, that man is gone. You're searching for a ghost. Then maybe ghosts can be brought back to life, Mia replied. Zane didn't answer. He just left, disappearing into the shadows that seemed to cling to him. But Mia saw the way his shoulders had relaxed slightly. The way his expression had softened when he looked at her. She was getting through to him. Slowly, carefully, but definitely. And tomorrow, she'd continue the work of making the Bloodthirsty Duke remember what it felt like to care. Part 3. The library was magnificent. 3 stories of books reaching toward a domed ceiling painted with celestial scenes. Rolling ladders on brass tracks, reading nooks with plush chairs, windows that let in filtered sunlight Zane couldn't enjoy but had kept uncovered anyway. This is incredible, Mia breathed, turning in a slow circle. It was my mother's pride, Zane said, standing in the doorway. He didn't enter, the sun streaming through windows would hurt him. She collected books from all over the world. Said knowledge was the only immortality that mattered. It was the first time he'd mentioned family. Mia filed the information away carefully. She asked gently. She died 300 years ago. Hunters. Zane's voice was flat, emotionless. Along with my father and sister. I'm the only one who survived. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. But the grief in his eyes said otherwise. The history section is on the 3rd floor. Left side. You'll find records of the manor and our family going back to its founding. Will you show me? I can't. The sunlight would hurt you. I know. Mia moved to the windows, drawing the heavy curtains. The library plunged into shadow, lit only by the magical orbs that flickered to life automatically. Better? Zane stared at her. You just darkened the library for me. It's your home. You should be able to enjoy it. Something shifted in his expression. Without a word, he entered the library, moving to the spiral staircase. Come. I'll show you the family history section personally. They climbed to the 3rd floor, the air growing dustier and more neglected. This was clearly a section Zane avoided. Here, he said, gesturing to rows of books and journals. Everything you could want to know about the Nightshade family and this cursed manor. Cursed. Mia pulled out a leather-bound journal. You keep using that word. Because it's accurate. Zane leaned against a bookshelf. This place is cursed. Has been for a century. That's why the brides disappear. That's why I can't remember my kindnesses. That's why, he stopped. That's why what? Nothing. He turned away. Read the journals. You'll find references to the curse starting about 100 years ago. After that, everything becomes unclear. Mia opened the journal, handwritten entries from someone named Lord Nightshade. The writing was elegant, the entries detailing daily life in the manor. Then, about halfway through, the handwriting changed. Became jagged, desperate. Asterisk, I don't remember yesterday. Nora says I met with the village council, but I have no memory of it. Only darkness. Only, asterisk. The entry ended abruptly. This is your handwriting, Mia said, looking at Zane. Before and after. Yes. That's when the curse started manifesting. Zane's jaw clenched. I began losing time. Forgetting things. Especially anything good, anything kind, anything that made me more than just a monster. And the brides? Started around the same time. The village councils would send women to appease me, and they'd vanish within weeks. I'd have no memory of what happened to them. He met her eyes. That's why I warn you, Mia. This isn't a romance. It's a tragedy waiting to repeat itself. Only if we let it. Mia set down the journal. Zane, what if the curse is specifically designed to make you forget kindness? To keep you isolated and miserable? Who would do that? Someone who benefits from your suffering. Mia moved closer. Someone who wants you to remain the bloodthirsty Duke instead of whoever you really are. A witch, Zane said slowly. It would take a powerful witch to curse a vampire of my age. Did you cross any witches 100 years ago? Possibly. I don't remember. He laughed bitterly. That's the problem. I don't remember anything that matters. Mia touched his face, gentle. Then we'll help you remember. Starting with this, do you remember how it felt to save that girl in Ashwood? The satisfaction of choosing life over death? I told you, I wasn't in Ashwood. Lie to yourself if you want. But not to me. Mia held his gaze. Close your eyes. Try to remember. A girl, dying of fever. You appeared in the darkness. Spoke words of healing. She looked at you with gratitude instead of fear. Stop. She asked if she'd see you again. You said no, that she wouldn't even remember you. But she did. She remembered everything. Mia's voice softened. She remembered your kindness. Your sadness. The way you looked at her like saving her life mattered. Zane's eyes were closed, his expression strained. I see, fragments. A cottage. Darkness. Someone small and fragile. But it can't be real. It must be a dream, or... It's real. I'm real. That memory is fighting your curse right now, trying to survive. Mia's hands framed his face. Hold on to it. Don't let the curse take it again. For a long moment, they stood frozen like that. Then Zane's eyes opened, and they were filled with tears. I remember, he whispered. Gods, I remember. You were dying. The fever had you in its grip. I couldn't just leave you. But I knew if I saved you, the curse would make me forget. It always does. You saved me anyway. Because some things are worth forgetting for. His hands covered hers. And you carried that memory for 5 years. Came here knowing what I am, risking everything, just to find me again. I couldn't do anything else. Mia smiled through her own tears. You saved my life. The least I could do was try to save yours. This is dangerous, Mia. If the curse is actively trying to make me forget kindness, and you're actively trying to make me remember, we're at war with magic I don't fully understand. Then we learn to understand it. Mia pulled him closer. Together. No more isolation, no more accepting the curse as inevitable. We fight it. And if we fail? Then at least we'll have tried. She reached up, pulling his face down to hers. And at least you'll have known, even for a little while, that you're not the monster they made you believe you were. Zane's lips met hers in a kiss that was gentle, tentative, tasting of hope and terror in equal measure. His arms wrapped around her, holding her like she was precious, like she might vanish if he let go. When they finally broke apart, both were trembling. I don't know how to do this, Zane admitted. How to be more than what the curse wants me to be. We'll figure it out. Mia leaned into him, listening to his heartbeat, slower than human, but still there. Still proof of life. One memory at a time. One moment of kindness at a time. You make it sound simple. Love usually is. The word slipped out before Mia could stop it. Zane pulled back to look at her. Love? I've been in love with you since I was 13 years old, Mia confessed. Since the moment you saved my life and asked for nothing in return. 5 years of loving a ghost, hoping to find the real man. And now I have. Mia. You don't have to say it back. I know it's too soon, too complicated. But I needed you to know. She touched his chest. Whatever happens, however this ends, you were loved. Are loved. By someone who sees all of you and chooses you anyway. Zane's expression was devastating, joy and grief and desperate hope all tangled together. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you have me anyway. Mia smiled. Now come on. Let's read more of these journals and figure out exactly what this curse is and how to break it. You're determined to save me. Absolutely. I didn't spend 5 years searching just to give up now. They spent the rest of the day in the library, reading journals and histories, piecing together the curse's origins. And slowly, carefully, Mia watched Zane start to believe that maybe, just maybe, the Bloodthirsty Duke could become something more. Something worth saving. Something capable of love. Part 4. They found the answer in a journal dated exactly 100 years ago. She called herself Evangeline. A witch seeking shelter from hunters. I offered her sanctuary. What else could I do? She was wounded, desperate, fleeing for her life. Zane read aloud, his voice tight. I don't remember this. Any of it. But when the hunters came, I refused to hand her over. Killed 3 of them to protect her. She thanked me. Said I was different from other vampires. Kinder. You saved her life, Mia said. Like you saved mine. When she healed, I told her she was free to go. She asked if she could stay longer. Said she'd grown fond of the manor. Of me. I should have seen the obsession in her eyes. But I was lonely, and she was beautiful, and I said yes. The handwriting grew more agitated. She wants me to make her immortal. Wants me to turn her into a vampire so we can be together forever. But I don't love her. I care for her as a friend, nothing more. I tried to explain gently. She didn't take it well. The next entry was scrawled, desperate. The curse hit this morning. I woke with no memory of yesterday, of Evangeline leaving, of the argument. She's gone, but something lingers. A darkness that makes me forget every kindness, every good deed. Nora says I should have been kinder, that I broke her heart. But I can't remember. I can't remember anything. That was the last entry in Zane's handwriting. The rest of the journal was empty. She cursed you, Mia said. Out of spite. Because you wouldn't love her back. A century of isolation and suffering because I refused to return her feelings. Zane closed the journal. How do I even begin to pay for that kind of pettiness? You don't. Mia touched his hand. You were honest with her. That's all anyone can do. She chose cruelty over acceptance. But the brides, what happened to them? Zane's voice was anguished. If the curse makes me forget kindness, what did I do to those women? Maybe nothing. Mia pulled out another journal, this one Nora's. The maid had been keeping records. Look. Nora writes about each bride. They all arrived, spent time with you, and then, disappeared. But not dead. Gone. What's the difference? Dead bodies leave evidence. These women just vanished. Mia traced the entries. What if Evangeline is still taking them? What if she's been watching, waiting, removing anyone who might break your curse through love? Then she's still here. Zane stood abruptly. Still watching. Still controlling my life from the shadows. As if summoned by her name, the library grew cold. Frost crept across the windows, and shadows deepened in the corners where even the magical lights couldn't reach. A woman's laugh echoed through the stacks. Finally, a voice purred. He remembers. Took you long enough, my darling Duke. She materialized from smoke and shadow, beautiful in the way poisonous things were beautiful. White blonde hair, violet eyes, red lips curved in a cruel smile. She wore a dress from another era, blood red and magnificent. Evangeline. You, Zane breathed, power rising around him. You've been here all along. Did you think I'd just leave? Evangeline glided closer. After everything I sacrificed for you? I've been watching. Waiting. Removing every little bride who thought she could cure you with love. What did you do to them? Sent them away. Alive, if disappointed. Evangeline's smile widened. I'm not a monster, darling. Just, possessive. They're scattered across the world, memories altered, living mundane lives. Better than what they'd have had here. You had no right. I had every right. Evangeline's composure cracked. I loved you. Saved you from loneliness, offered you eternity, gave you everything, and you threw it away because I wasn't the one. She laughed bitterly. So I made sure you'd never find the one. Made sure you'd forget every kindness, every connection, until you became the monster everyone believed you to be. That's insane, Mia said, stepping forward. You cursed him for a century because he didn't love you back? Evangeline's eyes fixed on her. And who are you, little bride? Another naive girl thinking she can cure the vampire with true love's kiss? I'm the girl he saved 5 years ago. The one he risked your curse to help even knowing he'd forget. Mia raised her chin. I'm the one who came back for him. How sweet. Evangeline's power flared, shadows writhing. And how pointless. The curse is absolute, child. Every act of kindness he performs, every gentle moment, I consume it. Turn it to nothing. He could save 1,000 lives, and by morning, he'd remember none of them. Unless we break the curse, Zane said. You can't. Evangeline's confidence was absolute. I wove it from my own heartbreak, my own blood. The only thing that could break it is if I willingly released it. And why would I ever do that? Because keeping him prisoner like this isn't love, Mia said. It's obsession. Control. You're hurting him because you can't have him. I'm protecting him. Evangeline's voice rose. From himself, from his kindness, from wolves like you who'd use him and leave him broken. I'm the only one who's stayed. The only one who's loved him for a century. This isn't love, Zane said quietly. Love lets go when it's not returned. Love wants the other person happy, even if that happiness is with someone else. What you have, it's possession disguised as devotion. Don't lecture me about love. Evangeline's power exploded outward, shadows lashing at Mia. Zane moved faster than thought, placing himself between them. The shadows hit him instead, and he staggered. Don't touch her, he snarled. Oh, now you're protective? Evangeline laughed. You never protected me like that. Never looked at me with that desperate need to keep me safe. What makes her so special? She sees me, Zane said simply. Not what I can give her, not my immortality or power or wealth. Just, me. The man I am beneath the curse you forced on me. The man you are is the man I made you. Evangeline's voice broke. I shaped you, controlled you, kept you isolated so you'd finally understand how I felt. Alone. Desperate. Willing to do anything for love. Then you made me into your own pain instead of letting me heal yours, Zane replied. And that's not love, Evangeline. That's revenge. For a moment, the witch looked genuinely hurt. Then her expression hardened. Fine. You want her? You can have her. Evangeline smiled, cruel and calculating. But here's the thing about my curse, darling Duke, it doesn't just make you forget kindness. It makes you commit cruelty. And at midnight tonight, you'll do to your little bride exactly what the curse demands. What does it demand? Mia asked, fear creeping in. You'll drain her dry, Evangeline said sweetly. Every drop of blood, every breath of life. You'll kill her, and by morning, you won't even remember her name. Just another bride lost to the Bloodthirsty Duke. No. Zane's voice was absolute. I won't. I'll fight it. You can't fight a curse this strong. Not at midnight, when magic is at its peak and your vampire nature is strongest. Evangeline moved toward the window. So here's your choice, let her go now, send her away where the curse can't reach her. Or keep her here and watch yourself destroy the first person you've cared about in a century. She vanished, leaving only frost and the echo of cruel laughter. Mia and Zane stood in the sudden silence, the weight of her ultimatum crushing them. You have to leave, Zane said immediately. Now. Before midnight. I'll have Nora take you to the village. No. Mia grabbed his arms. I'm not running. Mia, you don't understand. When midnight comes, I won't be able to control myself. The vampire will take over completely, and I'll kill you. That's what the curse does, it forces me to destroy anyone I might love. Then we break the curse before midnight. We don't know how. Then we figure it out. Mia's voice rose to match his. I didn't spend 5 years searching for you just to give up at the first real obstacle. This isn't an obstacle, it's a death sentence. Zane pulled away, pacing. Every bride before you, that's what happened. At midnight, I lost control. Drained them or drove them mad with fear until Evangeline saved them by sending them away. I won't do that to you. You won't get the chance because we're going to break this curse. Mia's mind raced. Evangeline said the only thing that could break it is if she willingly releases it. So we make her release it. She'll never. She will if we give her something she wants more than revenge. Mia grabbed the journal. Think. What does she really want? Not you. If she truly wanted you, she'd have dropped the curse already and won you over naturally. She wants something else. Zane thought. She said she wanted to not be alone. To not feel like I felt, desperate and willing to do anything. So she's trapped in her own pain. Mia's eyes widened. What if we could cure that? What if we could give her what she really needs instead of what she thinks she wants? How? I don't know yet. But we have. Mia checked the grandfather clock. 7 hours to figure it out. Part 5. They found Nora in the kitchen, preparing tea like the world wasn't ending at midnight. I know about the curse, Mia said without preamble. I know about Evangeline, about what happens to the brides. We need your help. Nora didn't look surprised. I wondered when you'd figure it out. You knew all along? Zane demanded. I've been here for 200 years, boy. Of course I knew. Nora poured tea calmly. I'm bound to this manor, same as Evangeline. We made a pact when she was still human. I'd serve the Nightshade family in exchange for magical protection. When she cursed you, my binding extended to include maintaining the curse's effects. You've been helping her? Mia felt betrayed. I've been keeping you all alive. Nora's eyes were sharp. If I hadn't intervened, Zane would have killed every bride in truth. I'm the one who convinced Evangeline to simply send them away instead. I'm the one who keeps this manor running while he forgets everything that matters. Then help us now, Zane pleaded. Help us break this. I can't. My binding prevents me from acting against Evangeline directly. Nora sipped her tea. But I can tell you this, curses born from heartbreak can only be broken by healing that heartbreak. Not revenge, not force. Healing. How do we heal a witch who's been nursing her pain for a century? Mia asked. You show her something she's forgotten. Nora set down her cup. Evangeline wasn't always cruel. When she first came here, she was kind. Generous. She healed sick villagers, grew gardens, sang to the birds. The curse didn't just twist Zane, it twisted her too. Made her forget her own goodness in favor of obsession. So we need to remind her, Mia said slowly. Of who she was before the heartbreak consumed her. But how? Zane demanded. We have 6 hours, and she won't listen to reason. She might listen to proof. Nora stood, moving to a cabinet. She pulled out a small wooden box, opening it to reveal letters. Evangeline wrote these when she first arrived. Letters to her sister, describing this place, describing you, describing her hopes for the future. She was happy then. In love, yes, but not obsessed. Not broken. Mia took the letters, scanning them quickly. Evangeline's handwriting was delicate, her words full of joy and wonder. He's not what I expected, dear sister. Kind where I thought he'd be cruel. Gentle despite his strength. I find myself drawn to him not for power or immortality, but for the simple pleasure of his company. She loved you for the right reasons initially, Mia said. Before the rejection poisoned it. Then we need to get her to remember that feeling. Zane looked at the letters. But she spent a century building walls around her heart. She won't just let them down because we ask nicely. No, Mia agreed. But she might let them down if she sees that holding on to revenge has cost her everything good she once had. A mirror, Nora said suddenly. Witches hate seeing themselves clearly, it's why they avoid mirrors and reflective surfaces. But if we could show Evangeline what she's become versus what she was. We'd need powerful magic to create that kind of mirror, Zane said. Or we'd need Evangeline herself to power it. Mia's mind raced. What if we trick her into creating a spell that reflects her own heart? Show her the difference between the woman who wrote these letters and the woman who's been torturing you for a century? She'd never do it willingly. Then we don't ask for permission. Mia looked at Nora. You said you can't act against her directly. But can you provide materials? Information? Things we'd need for a reflection spell? Nora's smile was slow and knowing. I can provide whatever you request, as long as you're the ones casting the spell. I'm not a witch, Zane said. But I am. Mia touched her chest. Half witch, remember? I have magic in my blood. It's weak, untrained, but it's there. You'd need a powerful emotional anchor, Nora warned. Reflection spells feed on the caster's truth, You'd have to be completely honest about your feelings, your intentions, your love for him, and you'd have to be willing to sacrifice something precious to power it. What kind of sacrifice? Usually, a memory. Something meaningful you'd lose forever to fuel the spell. Mia didn't hesitate. I'll do it. Mia, no, Zane started. Yes. She grabbed his hands. I'll sacrifice my memory of the night you saved me. The one that started all this. If it means breaking your curse and saving you, it's worth it. That memory is everything to you. You are everything to me. Mia smiled through tears. The memory is just how we started. I care more about how we continue. Zane pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. You're the bravest person I've ever known. Or the most foolish. Mia laughed shakily. Now, let's break this curse before I lose my nerve. Nora provided them with everything they needed, magical components, instructions for the reflection spell, a mirror large enough to capture Evangeline's full image. They set up in the ballroom, drawing symbols in chalk, placing crystals at precise points. As they worked, Zane stayed close to Mia, his presence both comforting and desperate. If this doesn't work, he said quietly, if midnight comes and I lose control. It will work. But if it doesn't, I need you to run. Promise me. Don't try to fight, don't try to save me. Just run and don't look back. Mia stopped drawing symbols to face him. I can't promise that. Mia. If midnight comes and you lose control, I'll fight for you. For us. Because that's what love is, not running when things get hard, but staying and fighting even when it seems hopeless. She touched his face. You stayed for a century under this curse. The least I can do is stay for one night. You're going to make me fall in love with you, Zane whispered. Good. That's the plan. Mia kissed him, soft and sweet. Now help me finish this spell so we can have a future worth falling in love in. They worked until everything was ready. The spell circle was perfect, the components arranged, the words of power written in Mia's shaky hand. All they needed now was Evangeline. She'll come, Nora assured them. She always appears at 11. Likes to watch Zane suffer as midnight approaches. Sure enough, as the clock struck 11, frost crept across the ballroom windows. Shadows deepened. And Evangeline materialized, looking pleased with herself. Spending your last hour together? How romantic. She noticed the spell circle, laughed. Oh, darling. You really think you can break a century-old curse with amateur magic? It's worth trying, Mia said, stepping into the circle. Brave little bride. Evangeline moved closer. But futile. My curse is woven from heartbreak itself. Your love, however genuine, isn't strong enough to counter that much pain. Maybe not. Mia began speaking the spell words, her magic rising, weak, flickering, but present. But love combined with truth might be. The mirror began to glow. Evangeline frowned. What are you? The mirror's surface rippled, and images appeared. Not of Mia or Zane, but of Evangeline herself. First, as she'd been a century ago, young, hopeful, writing letters to her sister about the kind vampire who'd saved her life. Her face was soft, her eyes bright with genuine affection. Then the rejection. Zane's gentle words, his honest explanation that he cared for her but didn't love her romantically. And then, moment by moment, the transformation. The hurt turning to anger. The anger turning to rage. The rage turning to cold, calculated cruelty. The mirror showed her creating the curse. Showed her face twisted with vindictive satisfaction as Zane forgot his first kindness. Showed a century of her watching from the shadows, removing brides, feeding on his isolation. Showed her becoming exactly what she'd accused others of being, a monster. Stop it. Evangeline screamed, power lashing out. But the spell held, fueled by Mia's sacrifice. The mirror showed one final image, Evangeline now. Beautiful but hollow. Powerful but alone. Consumed by revenge until nothing else remained. And beside that image appeared the woman she could have been, if she'd chosen healing over heartbreak, acceptance over obsession. A woman still whole, still capable of genuine love, still able to smile without cruelty. The two images stood side by side. Past and present. Hope and despair. Evangeline stared at herself, her expression crumbling. I never meant to become, her voice broke. What have I done? You let pain consume you, Mia said gently. The spell was draining her, making her legs shake, but she held on. Just like the curse makes Zane forget kindness, you forgot your own goodness. You forgot the woman who healed villagers and grew gardens. Who loved freely instead of possessively. I just didn't want to be alone, Evangeline whispered. Then stop making yourself alone. Zane stepped forward. Release the curse. Not for me, for yourself. So you can remember who you were before heartbreak broke you. If I release it, I lose my connection to you. Lose any excuse to stay in this manner. You don't need an excuse, Mia said. You need permission. And I'm giving it to you, stay if you want. Not as a curse, not as a ghost, but as yourself. Help us rebuild this place into something that honors what you and Zane could have been, friends. Evangeline looked at the mirror, at the woman she'd once been. Tears streaked down her face. I'm so tired, she whispered. So tired of being angry. Of feeding on pain. Of watching him suffer and calling it love. She raised her hands, and power gathered, but different this time. Gentler. Like the magic she'd used a century ago to heal instead of hurt. I release you, she said to Zane. From my curse, from my heartbreak, from my desperate need to make you as broken as I felt. I release you, her voice caught. And I'm sorry. For all of it. For every moment of suffering. I'm so sorry. The curse shattered. Mia felt it break, felt the darkness that had clung to Zane for a century dissolve like smoke. Felt memories flooding back into him, 100 years of forgotten kindnesses, forgotten smiles, forgotten moments of grace. And she felt her own sacrifice complete, the memory of the night Zane saved her fading, becoming dreamlike, insubstantial. A fair trade. His freedom for her memory. Then everything went black. Part 6. Mia woke to find herself in Zane's bed, sunlight streaming through windows that had been closed for a century. She's awake, Nora's voice, relieved. Mia sat up slowly. Zane appeared instantly, kneeling beside the bed, taking her hand. How do you feel? He asked, his eyes searching hers. Tired. But okay. Mia looked around. What happened? The last thing I remember is the spell. You broke the curse, Zane said, his voice thick with emotion. Completely, absolutely. I can walk in sunlight again, see my reflection, remember every kindness I've performed for the past century. You gave me everything back. And Evangeline? Here. The witch appeared in the doorway, looking smaller somehow. Less threatening. I owe you an apology. Several, actually. You released the curse, Mia said. That's apology enough. It's not, but thank you for saying so. Evangeline moved closer. I also wanted to give you something back. The memory you sacrificed, I caught it before it dissolved completely. If you want it, I can restore it. Mia's breath caught. You can do that? It's the least I can do after a century of cruelty. Evangeline held out her hand, a glowing orb of light resting in her palm. Your memory of the night he saved you. The foundation of your love for him. I can give it back. Mia looked at Zane, who watched her with hope and love and complete trust in her choice. Keep it, Mia said finally. What? Evangeline looked shocked. But I don't need that memory anymore. Mia squeezed Zane's hand. I have new memories now. Better ones. Dinners and conversations and learning to love him not because he saved me once, but because of who he is every single day. Are you sure? I'm sure. Mia smiled at Zane. The girl who fell in love with her savior was just the beginning. The woman who loves him now, she's built on so much more than one moment of kindness. Evangeline's eyes filled with tears. You're kinder than I deserve. Then be kind in return. Stay here. Help us restore this manor to what it was meant to be, a home, not a prison. I'd like that. Evangeline looked at Zane. If you'll have me. Not as a lover, not as an obsession. Just, as a friend who wants to atone for past mistakes. Zane was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Friends. But with boundaries, and honesty, and the understanding that if you ever try to manipulate me or Mia again, I'll leave willingly, Evangeline finished. I swear it. She left, taking the memory orb with her. Nora smiled. I'll give you two some privacy. When they were alone, Zane pulled Mia into his arms, holding her like she was precious beyond measure. Thank you, he whispered. For everything. For finding me, for believing in me, for sacrificing something irreplaceable to save me. You're worth it. Mia tilted her face up. All of it. Every moment. I love you, Zane said, the words coming easily now. I'm in love with you. Not because of what you've done for me, but because of who you are. Brave, stubborn, optimistic, kind. Everything I needed to remember that the world has light in it. I love you too. Mia kissed him. Now and always. In sunlight and shadow. Marry me, Zane said suddenly. Not as a bride offered in tribute, but as my choice. My partner. My equal. We barely know each other. We have eternity to learn. He smiled. What do you say? Mia pretended to think about it. On one condition. Anything. We honeymoon somewhere sunny. I want to see you in daylight as much as possible. Zane laughed, the sound joyful and free. Deal. Anywhere you want. As long as I'm with you. They kissed as the sun streamed through the windows, warming a manor that had been cold for far too long. Outside, in the gardens, Evangeline began the work of restoration. And for the first time in a century, green things started to grow. Part 7. The next months passed in a blur of restoration and discovery. The manor came alive again. Evangeline used her magic to repair neglect, to grow gardens where nothing had bloomed for decades. Nora oversaw the practical work, hiring staff, cleaning rooms, making the place feel like a home instead of a mausoleum. And Mia and Zane learned each other. She discovered he played piano beautifully, had a dry wit that made her laugh, loved reading poetry aloud in the evenings. He discovered she couldn't cook to save her life, had a terrible singing voice she wasn't ashamed of, and talked in her sleep about the most random things. They were happy. But happiness, Mia learned, didn't erase all scars. Tell me about your family, she asked one evening, curled beside him in the library. Zane's hand stilled on her hair. What brought this on? You never talk about them. About your mother, your father, your sister. But they're in portraits all over the manor. Because talking about them makes them real. Makes their loss real. Zane's voice was quiet. I've spent 3 centuries trying not to think about how they died. Maybe it's time to remember them properly. Not their deaths, but their lives. Zane was silent for a long moment. Then he began to speak. My mother was brilliant. Collected books from everywhere, spoke 7 languages, could argue philosophy with scholars and win every time. She's the one who taught me to love learning. She sounds wonderful. She was. And stubborn. And impossible to win an argument against. His smile was sad. My father was quieter. Practical. He managed the estates while mother managed everything else. They balanced each other perfectly. And your sister? Lily was young when she died. Only 50, barely an adult for our kind. She was kind, like you. Believed everyone deserved compassion. His voice roughened. The hunters killed her first. Made my parents watch. Then killed them while I was away on business. Mia held him tighter. I'm sorry. I've been angry for 300 years. At the hunters, at myself for not being there, at the world for taking them. But the curse, he pulled back to look at her. The curse made me forget even the anger. Made me forget I had reasons to feel anything at all. And now? Now I remember. Everything. The love, the loss, the rage, the grief. He touched her face. But I also have you. Have a reason to build something new instead of just mourning what's gone. They'd like that, I think. Seeing you happy. They'd have loved you. Zane kissed her forehead. Mother would have adopted you immediately, taught you everything she knew. Father would have welcomed you into the family with open arms. And Lily, his smile turned genuine. Lily would have made you her best friend and dragged you into every adventure imaginable. Tell me more about them, Mia requested. I want to know where you came from. Who made you into the man I love? So Zane talked through the night, sharing memories he'd been unable to access for a century. Laughing at stories of his mother's schemes, his father's dry observations, his sister's boundless energy. And with each story, Mia felt him heal a little more. Evangeline was healing too, in her own way. She'd moved into one of the manor's wings, keeping respectful distance from Mia and Zane but present enough to help with the restoration. The work seemed to ground her, give her purpose beyond obsession. One afternoon, Mia found her in the gardens, coaxing roses back to life. They're beautiful, Mia observed. Evangeline looked up, surprised. I didn't hear you approach. May I join you? It's your manor now. It's our home, Mia corrected, kneeling beside her. All of ours. They worked in comfortable silence for a while, dirt under their nails, sun warm on their backs. I wanted to apologize again, Evangeline said finally. For taking your memory. Even if you chose not to reclaim it, I had no right to ask for such a sacrifice. You gave me the option to have it back. That matters. Does it? I spent a century taking choices away from people. One gesture of returning them doesn't erase that. No, Mia agreed. But it's a start. Healing isn't instant, Evangeline. It's a process. You make one good choice, then another, then another. Eventually, those choices define you more than your mistakes. You're very wise for someone so young. Mia laughed. I'm really not. I'm just someone who spent 5 years obsessed with finding a man who didn't remember me. I understand fixation. But you let it go when you needed to. Sacrificed your foundational memory for his freedom. Evangeline's hands stilled in the dirt. I held on to my pain for a century. What does that say about me? That you were hurting. That you didn't know how to heal. Mia touched her shoulder. But you chose healing in the end. That's what matters. I'm trying to believe that. They worked until the roses bloomed, lush, red, alive. Proof that even the most neglected things could flourish with care. The wedding was small, intimate. Just Zane and Mia, Nora officiating, Evangeline and Ethan, the groundskeeper who'd been loyally maintaining the manor for decades, as witnesses. They married in the garden at sunset, when the light was soft and golden. Mia wore a simple white dress that felt nothing like the sacrificial bride outfit she'd arrived in. Zane wore black, as always, but smiled more than he had in centuries. I, Zane Nightshade, take you, Mia, to be my wife, he said, voice steady. To love and cherish, in sunlight and shadow, for as long as we both shall live, which, given my immortality and your stubbornness, will probably be a very long time. Mia laughed through happy tears. I, Mia, take you, Zane, to be my husband. To love and challenge and keep honest, through every adventure and quiet moment, for all the eternities we can steal together. They exchanged rings, simple silver bands that caught the dying light. You may kiss your bride, Nora said, smiling. And Zane did, thoroughly, while Evangeline looked away politely and Ethan cheered. That night, in Zane's bedroom, their bedroom now, they made love for the first time. Gentle and passionate, careful and wild, learning each other's bodies the way they'd learned each other's hearts. Afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, Mia felt complete in a way she'd never imagined possible. Happy? Zane murmured against her hair. Impossibly so. Mia traced patterns on his chest. You? Beyond measure. He kissed her temple. Thank you for being stubborn enough to find me. Brave enough to stay. Foolish enough to love a cursed vampire. Best decision I ever made. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, the future stretching endlessly before them. Full of possibility. Full of love. Full of light. Part 8. 6 months into their marriage, trouble arrived in the form of vampire hunters. They came at night, dozens of them, armed with stakes and silver and righteous fury. Someone had told them about Nightshade Manor's restoration, about the vampire lord who'd broken his curse. About how he'd grown soft. Zane fought brilliantly, his vampire nature fully unleashed. But there were too many, too prepared. Get Mia to safety, he shouted to Ethan. Now. But Mia refused to run. She'd spent her whole life running, hiding, being protected. Not anymore. She stepped into the battle, and something extraordinary happened. Her witch magic, weak and untrained before, exploded to life. Not because of fear or desperation, but because of love. Because her heart demanded she protect the man she'd sacrificed everything to save. Purple light erupted from her hands, throwing hunters back. Her magic wove with Zane's vampiric strength, creating combinations of power that shouldn't exist. Together, they were unstoppable. When the last hunter fled, Mia stood in the ruined garden, breathing hard, her hands still glowing. Well, Evangeline said, emerging from the manor. That was impressive. What just happened? Mia stared at her hands. You came into your power. Evangeline's smile was approving. Witch magic amplified by vampire bond. It's rare, but not unheard of. When a witch loves a vampire enough to bind their life to his, the magic transforms. I'm bonded to him. Like, mystically? Have been since you sacrificed that memory. True sacrifice creates true bonds. Evangeline moved closer. You're not fully human anymore, Mia. Not vampire, but not entirely mortal either. Something in between. Something new. Mia looked at Zane, who watched her with wonder and love. Is that okay? She asked him. That I'm changing? You're alive. You're here. You're mine. He pulled her close. Everything else is just details. Chapter 9. The library did not simply return to silence after Evangeline's physical form dissipated into the ether. Instead, it was filled with a sound like 1,000 whispers, the collective weight of every memory the witch had stolen from Zane over the last 100 years. Mia held him as he slumped against a mahogany bookshelf, his breathing ragged. For a vampire, he looked remarkably fragile. His skin, usually the color of fine marble, was flushed with a sudden, unnatural heat. Zane? Mia whispered, her hands still cupping his face. The golden thread that had connected them during the battle was still visible to her, though it had thinned to a faint, shimmering wire. Can you hear me? He didn't answer at first. His eyes were wide, the pupils blown so large they nearly obscured the midnight iris. He was seeing things she couldn't, the faces of a dozen brides, the names of villages he'd visited in secret, the small, quiet acts of mercy he'd performed in the dead of night, only to have them erased by dawn. I remember the baker's daughter from the valley, Zane finally choked out. The words sounded like they were being dragged over broken glass. Eloan. She came here 80 years ago. I didn't kill her. I gave her a bag of gold and told her to run to the coast. I told her to never look back. He let out a jagged laugh that turned into a sob. And the moment she crossed the iron gates, I forgot her name. I forgot why I was standing in the rain with empty pockets. You were protecting them, Mia said, tears blurring her vision. Even when you didn't know why, your soul was still fighting her. It wasn't enough, Zane said, looking up at her. The violet light of the curse had been replaced by a deep, aching clarity. Mia, the things I've felt, the coldness I've lived in, it wasn't just magic. I let myself believe I was the monster she wanted me to be because it was easier than feeling the hollowness of the forgetting. Nora stepped into the room, her footsteps heavy. She didn't look at the ruin of the library, she looked only at the man she had served for a lifetime. The shadow has lifted from the kitchens, she said softly. The frost on the windows is melting into real rain. Nora, Zane said, his voice regaining some of its Duke-like resonance. You knew. All this time, you watched me forget. I did, Nora admitted, her gaze dropping to the floor. She threatened to take my memories too, Your Grace. And if I forgot, there would be no one left to ensure the brides were at least fed before they were sent away. I stayed to be the anchor you couldn't be. Zane reached out, and Nora took his hand. It was a silent reconciliation, a recognition of the shared burden they had carried in the dark. The days following the confrontation were not filled with the typical, happily ever after, of village fairy tales. Breaking a century-long curse was an agonizing process of reconstruction. Zane spent much of his time in the conservatory. Once a place of dead stalks and gray vines, it was now reacting to the shift in the manor's aura. Small, pale flowers, flowers that only bloomed in the presence of ancient, untainted magic, were beginning to push through the dry soil. Mia stayed by his side, but she found herself changing, too. The bond Evangeline had spoken of was more than just a mystical link, it was a physical weight. She found she no longer needed as much sleep, and her senses had sharpened to a degree that was almost overwhelming. She could hear the heartbeat of a bird in the garden from 3 rooms away. She could smell the incoming storm hours before the first cloud appeared. You're not eating, Zane noted one evening as they sat in the small parlor. A fire roared in the hearth, its orange light dancing across the portraits that Zane no longer avoided. I'm not hungry, Mia said, looking at the plate of roasted chicken Nora had prepared. I feel full. Like the air itself is sustaining me. Zane moved to her, his movements fluid and predatory, yet tempered by a new, profound tenderness. He took her hand, and the golden thread flared between them. Evangeline said you were something new. I fear I've cost you your humanity, Mia. You didn't take it, she countered, leaning her head against his shoulder. I gave it. I traded my mortality for the chance to see you clearly. I'd make that trade 1,000 times over. He pulled her into his lap, his arms wrapping around her with a strength that would have crushed her weeks ago, but now felt only like a firm embrace. We are bound now. My life is tied to yours. If I falter, you will feel it. If I bleed, you will know. Then don't falter, she teased, though her heart was hammering. I've spent 5 years looking for you, Zane. I'm not planning on losing you to a falter. As the month turned, the news of the change at Nightshade began to trickle down the mountain. The carriage driver, the one who had offered Mia a last chance to run, returned to the gates with a message from the village council of Ashwood. They were terrified. They had seen the violet light over the manor on the night of the battle and assumed the Duke had finally lost his mind entirely. I have to go down there, Zane said, standing on the balcony and looking out over the misty valley. I have to show them that the tribute of brides is over. They won't believe you, Mia said, joining him. The wind whipped her dark hair around her face. To them, you are still the bloodthirsty Duke. Then I will show them, Zane, he said firmly. He didn't go alone. He took the carriage, with Mia seated beside him, her burgundy dress a bold splash of color against the dark velvet of the interior. When they reached the village square of Ashwood, the silence was absolute. People ducked into doorways, mothers clutched their children. Zane stepped out first. He didn't wear the intimidating armor or the heavy, shadowed cloaks of his past. He wore a simple black suit, his head held high, his midnight eyes clear and steady. People of Ashwood, his voice carried through the square, amplified by a touch of the power he still possessed. The gates of Nightshade Manor are no longer a prison. The curse that demanded your daughters has been broken. He reached back into the carriage and took Mia's hand, leading her out. A gasp went up from the crowd. They recognized her, the girl who had volunteered, the one they had mourned as dead. Mia, an old woman whispered, stepping forward. It was the village healer who had left Mia to die in the cottage 5 years ago. I'm alive, Sarah, Mia said, her voice ringing with a strength the villagers had never heard from her. The Duke didn't take my life. He saved it. Not just now, but years ago, when the fever took the others. Zane looked at the crowd, at the fear still etched into their faces. I cannot erase the fear I have caused you for 100 years. I cannot return the time lost. But there will be no more brides. There will be no more tributes. Nightshade Manor will be a place of protection once more, as it was in my father's time. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a heavy iron key, the key to the manor's outer gates. He handed it to the head of the village council. Keep this. If I ever become the monster you fear again, lock the gates from the outside and never return. But for now, let us try to be neighbors again. The story of the Bloodthirsty Duke did not end with a battle, but with a beginning. Weeks later, under a moon so bright it turned the dead gardens of Nightshade into a landscape of silver and shadow, Zane and Mia stood on the cliffs overlooking the sea. There were no priests, no village witnesses, only Nora and the old groundskeeper, Ethan, who had emerged from his sheds to witness the occasion. I have nothing to give you but eternity, Zane said, his voice thick with emotion. He held a ring, a simple band of silver with a single, dark sapphire that looked like a piece of the night sky. And my word that I will never let you forget how much you are loved. Mia took the ring, but then she took his hand, pressing it to her heart. You gave me my life when I was 13. You gave me a purpose when I was 18. Eternity is just the time it will take for me to thank you. As they kissed, the golden thread between them didn't just glow, it expanded, wrapping around both of them in a cocoon of light. In that moment, the last vestiges of Evangeline's spite vanished. The manor behind them seemed to breathe, the stone warming, the windows reflecting the stars. Zane pulled back, looking at her with a wonder that surpassed anything he had felt in 3 centuries. I can feel your heartbeat, Mia. It's beating in time with mine. Something new, she reminded him, smiling. Something better, he corrected. Thank you for joining us for this epic journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Silver Moon Chronicles for more fated mate adventures.